Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sadvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Mukti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Medha Dakshina Mukti Swamine Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste once again, all of you.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste. So, as already announced, today we will see in briefly, rather it's not full detail, the glories of Gita. Why should we study Gita? What is the significance? Because we have so much scriptural literature, right? As I explained, in the last class, right, from Vedas, Puranas, Smriti Granthas, everything is there. But what is the speciality about Bhagavad Gita, which has become so popular these days? So we will see briefly what is the speciality of Bhagavad Gita, and that itself is the glory of the Gita. So Adi Shankara, at the beginning of, I think, second or third verse of his Viveka Chudamani, says a very beautiful sloka. He says, Durlabham Trayameva Yetat Deva Nugraha Hetukam Manushyatvam Mumukshutvam Mahapurusha Samsrayaha. This is what he says. He says three things in this life are extremely rare. Extremely rare means very rare occurrence. What are they? Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, and this Mahapurusha Samsraya. And these, he says, are got by what? Deva Nugraha Hetukam, by the blessings of Paramatma only, by the blessings of Ishvara only. These three things are got. What are they? Manushyatvam, being born as a human being. It's a very, very rare occurrence. Because human birth is not only rare, but it is also very precious birth. Many of us don't realize and waste the life that we have got. But we must understand that human birth is one of the very rare and most precious of all the jivas. Because in human birth only we can pursue all the goals of life. In any other birth, like a birth of an animal or a plant or any other jiva, they are all driven by instinct, pre-programmed, and that too hard-coded. Nothing can change. They can't. They have to do the same thing day in and day out. Whereas a human being has got what God has given us is a free will to set our goals, pursue those goals, and achieve those goals. So it is a very precious, birth that all of us have got, and rare because, as per the Shastras, this universe has got 84 lakh species. Mind you, not 84 lakh jivas; it is species. Flower will be one species, in that many different categories will be there. So in that 84 lakh species, human is one of them. Human species is one of them. So the probability you can imagine of being born as a human is 1 in 84 lakhs. And that is why it is a very rare probability. Certain past karmas have come together in a certain proportion, in a certain ratio, then only we get the human birth. Both punya and papa, have to be balanced. And in this human birth also, it is rarer to be a mumukshu, that is mumukshutvam. What is mumukshutvam? Mumukshutvam means a desire for liberation. From liberation, or we can call it moksha in Vedantic terms. Moksha. What is liberation? Liberation is not that you are, put in some jail and you are freed or anything. It is liberation from all the emotional trappings that we get ourselves into and then suffer as a consequence. If you look at all our sufferings, all our grief in our life, the background will always be some emotional issue, some emotional trapping, because of which we end up in situation, even physical suffering also. It's all related to the mind only. If your mind is detached from your physical suffering, you will not feel that you are suffering at all. Or if you don't get emotionally upset about your physical suffering, then physical suffering may be there at the body level, but you will not be disturbed by that. You will be able to maintain the equanimity of the emotions, mind, and all will be under control. But why we say that, my God, I am in pain, I am doing this, God is unkind to me. All these are because of the emotional involvement that we attach with the physical suffering. Emotional suffering, I don't need to explain. Mental suffering, all emotional problems only. Okay. So, moksha basically means emotional freedom. Freedom from all the travails and trauma of our miserable life that we lead from day in and day out. Freedom from grief and sorrow. And remaining in a state of enduring happiness. Freedom from all, it also includes freedom from rebirth. That is moksha. If you have to define moksha in a few sentences, this is what it is. Of course, it's a very big purushartha, it's a very big topic. So the scriptures, they proclaim that this moksha is the ultimate goal of every living being, including human being, rather for human being and all other living being also. And in this rebirth, in the process of rebirth, one goes from one stage to another. And the journey is towards this moksha only. Some people may get it in this birth, some people may take 100 more births to reach that stage. But everybody, scriptures assure everybody will reach that, every jiva will reach that stage at some stage or the other, as long as the creation keeps on going. Okay. And Mahapurusha Samshraya means what? Means the support and guidance of a noble, competent spiritual guide. Getting that is a very rare thing. Everybody may want a competent spiritual guide, a guru, to guide that person in their personal, life. But to get such a guru, especially in these times, everybody are all self-claimed gurus rather. Self-appointed gurus, and whether they are leading you right for your benefit or they are leading you for their benefit, we cannot make out that. So Mahapurusha Samshraya means this, getting a right guru in your life is another very rare thing. That is why he says Durlabham. Durlabham means very rare. Rarely one can get. Okay. And that guru should be able to lead you to moksha or this freedom in this life itself. If a guru tells me that you do all these things for you and you will get moksha after this life, there is no guarantee for that. It is just like, many of these companies advertise, reverse diabetes in 3 months and all that. They will give you some very expensive capsules. You ask them that in 3 months, if my diabetes is not reversed, will you refund the money? They will not give you an answer. Then they will tell you, no, so many people have benefited and things like that and all that. But they will never ever, because what their guidance to you is for their benefit, not for your benefit. So these things are very common in Kali Yuga. We have to bear with all these things. So getting a right guru who will lead us to liberation in this life itself.
Can you disconnect and reconnect?
Meeting.
Not loud.
Can you please mute yourself, all of you? And be very aware that, by chance, even unmuting yourself, your conversation can be heard by everybody. So this is the third one. Mahapurusha Samsraya is the third one. Okay. So human birth is rare. Spiritual seeking is rarer. And getting a spiritual guide is the rarest. And for the present, all that we need to thank God and appreciate is that we have got the human birth, which itself is a very rare occurrence in the universe. And we have to acknowledge and value that blessing that we have got. And as I said, it is the human being alone has got the free will, and that itself is a great blessing. We can decide what we should do, what we should not do. We know what is right and wrong. We have the viveka. We have the discrimination power with us. The capacity to differentiate between what is good, what is bad. And none of the other species are blessed with this kind of a power which only human beings have got. The free will and thinking capacity. Okay. And it is in the human birth alone one can evolve spiritually and follow the values and lifestyle embedded in the teachings of our Sanatana Dharma, which we call popularly as Hinduism. Okay. So our culture, and when I say culture, our culture, I mean our original culture, not the one we are practicing today. Our original culture is a Vedic culture. And it was based upon Vedic scriptures. Even today, it remains the same, except that we have actually polluted the whole thing using our great free will. And a Vedic culture is a religious culture. You cannot separate Vedas from religion. Okay. A lifestyle which is based on Vedas cannot be separated from a religious lifestyle. Because life and religion both are intertwined, go together. And a religious culture means what? It means a God-centered culture. And therefore, in our culture, God plays a very important role. Bhakti, reverence, is the mainstay of our culture. Anything that we do, bhakti is advocated. You have to do it with reverence. In fact, if you look at it, our day should begin with the remembrance of the Lord. In a materialistic culture, probably we will begin our day with a cup of bed coffee. We would not have even brushed our teeth, but we will have a bed coffee, and that is supposed to be very modern, culture, people. Many of them do it even today. In their life, there is no, the three-letter word God is not there at all. They will remember God only when they are in deep difficulty. Otherwise, there is day-to-day living no God. But for people who are following a religious culture, how does their day begin? The moment they open their eyes, the scriptures say, look at your palms and chant this sloka or this verse. Karagre vasate Lakshmi, Karamadhye Saraswati, Karamule tu stita Gauri, Prabhate Karadarshanam. So first thing the scriptures say, the most auspicious thing in your life in that day is your two hands, your palms. It contains the entire past of yours and future of yours. All karmas that you have done, these two hands have been involved in the past. So remember that and see those hands as the first thing that you see, so that your eyesight does not fall on something which is not very pleasant, something which is not palatable, something which we may consider inauspicious, all those things. So this is how the day starts. Then even for while brushing the teeth, we are supposed to chant one mantra. And that mantra is dedicated to Vanaspati Devata. Because in olden days, people used to brush their teeth with a twig of a tree, neem tree or some other tree. They will use the twig, clean the teeth. So while doing so, they will chant a mantra, Vanaspati Devata, remembering Vanaspati Devata, and praying that please, you not only clean my teeth, along with that, you please clean my antakaranam also. Let my mind become more and more pure, purer and purer. Let it attain more and more chitta shuddhi. This is the prayer. While taking bath, offer prayers. In fact, there is a suktam called Agamarshana Suktam, which is supposed to be chanted while taking bath. And that suktam, when chanted, will keep all the pollutants which is there in the water away from us. It will clean our body and not leave any pollutants or dirty things which may be there. Because olden day they used to take bath in the river. Today, of course, we have got all filtered water and things like that and all. But the idea is remembering Ishvara, remembering God in everything that we do. Even while wearing a dress, you are supposed to offer a prayer to Revati Devata. Revati Devata is the Devata for dresses, for our attire. So if you look at it, while eating, you are supposed to offer a prayer. Before going to sleep also, you are supposed to offer a prayer. In the morning, when you get up and put your feet on the floor, on the dharti, on Bhudevi's head, offer a prayer, ask for pardon from the Bhudevata. So if you look at it from morning till night, and I can extend it a little more, right from conception to death, everything is God-centered only in our life, in our culture. Because conception also, there's a muhurtam and then there is a prayer and all that. These days, nobody follows all those things, but it is all there. Those mantras are chanted in all marriages. But not, in terms of practice. Just for chanting sake, the priest will chant. We also won't know what they are chanting. We are only interested in getting married quickly, going to the registrar office, signing the register and getting a marriage certificate to go to US. That's all our aim of marriage is. But this is all there, our God-centered culture, right from conception and death. Our body is confined to Agni Devata. We give up our body to Agni Devata to carry it back to all the Panchabhutas. Because this body is made of the Panchabhutas, which are nothing but Devata only, Ishvara's form only. Give it back. I have used this very well in my life. Thank you very much. I am giving it back. So all the Anteshti karma, mantras and all, if you actually understand, they all say this only. So it's a God-centered life is our entire life in our culture. Right. So the reason why this Vedic culture prescribes this God-centered life, we need to understand. Why is it that? Because right from the time we are born, we create so many relationships. First, as soon as we are born, there is a relationship established with our parents, mother and father. Then as we grow up, we form so many relationships. Relationship with siblings, relationship with uncles, aunts, and all that. This goes on. In the school, we develop relationships with our schoolmates, some friends and all that as we grow up, friends in the locality. When we go to college, another set of friends and another set of college mates, we develop relationship. Like that entire life, we keep on developing various relationships. Get married, another set of relationships come, which is supposed to be legal. That's why all the other parties are called in-laws, in-laws, in-laws. As per law, they are your relationship. Okay. So this goes on and on and on. Even while traveling, for example, we are going on a long haul flight or a long train journey, especially in India. 2 days journey. Olden days, from north to south travel, it will be 2 days or 3 days. Slow trains. And during the journey, you will develop a lot of relationship with people. Right? Now, all these relationships throughout our life we develop, but we never realize that all these relationships are always temporary relationships. Some relationship will last for some time, some others will last for some more time, but eventually all relationships will end. With our death, all relationships come to a close. Just like, in a train journey, when all the passengers are whom we have actually traveled for 2 days together and they get down in one station, that relationship is gone. Very rarely we may continue that relation. We would have taken the WhatsApp number and all that and be in touch with them. But the underlying theme is that all such relationships that we develop and we sustain during this life is all temporary relationships. They will end at some time. Especially at the time of death, all relationships will end. But there is one relationship which will never end. That relationship was there before you were born. That relationship is going to continue in your next birth, which is the relationship with God. The relationship with God will never end, because in this birth also, you have been born in a culture which is a God-centered culture. And if you have valued that culture and lived the lifestyle which is prescribed by the culture, this relationship with God will continue in the next life also. Life after life, Srishti after Srishti, this relationship with God will never vanish, because God is the creator and we are the created. In every birth, when we are born because of our karmas, and the karma phala dhata is Ishvara only. That is the permanent relation. Every janma, Ishvara is the karma phala dhata. Because our parents in this janma will not be our parents in the next janma. In the previous janma also we had different set of parents. But Ishvara has always been there. So that is the permanent relationship. So what the scriptures, Vedic scriptures say is that learn to value that permanent relationship and lead a God-centered lifestyle. This is what the scriptures say. So the fundamental relationship is with the Lord, with Ishvara, and all other relationships which we think that are all very, very important are only temporary relationships. In our life, we must always look for what is permanent. Our aim in life should be to get that is permanent and not run behind temporary things, isn't it? That is why we living in a rented house, which is a temporary. We all are, we have a desire to buy our own house because we say that is permanent. Nobody will ask us to go out of that house, my own house. Earlier days, people used to go for government jobs. Why? Government job is permanent. Whether you work, you don't work, nothing. You will get your promotions on time, your increments on time, and also nobody will ask you to go away from the job. The olden times I'm talking, these days, of course, I don't know. But why? Permanent. We always look for permanent, but we don't like temporary. But if you analyze, sit and analyze, everything that we actually go behind is only temporary. Even a permanent house is not your permanent house, because you, the day you die, that house somebody else will take, go, your son or somebody else will take it over. Or you may yourself sell that house and then go for another permanent house, one permanent to another permanent. Whatever it is. I mean, let us come back to the topic. So this fundamental relationship, the permanent relationship, is only with God. All other relationships are temporary relationships. Okay. And for maintaining this relationship with God, this permanent relationship, the scriptures prescribed lot of practice, rituals and religious practices. Because we know that a relationship can be maintained only when it is nurtured. And this is true even in case of a husband and wife relationship or parents-children relationships. It's a struggle. Most people know, most of us know, it's a struggle to maintain these relationships in a very smooth way. And one of the things that people advise is that you can maintain the relationship if you spend quality time with those with whom you want to maintain the relationship. So spending quality time becomes a very, very important aspect for maintenance and nurturing of relationships. Isn't it? Another, they use it, give space to others and all. But whatever it is, spending quality time means undivided attention. Even when a husband and wife, they are actually conversing, and the wife is saying something, then the husband is actually looking at his mobile phone and doing some typing, she will get furious. Vice versa also, both. I mean, I'm not saying husband and wife and all, but whenever say husband, it applies to wife also. You'll get furious. You're not listening to what I'm saying. So that undivided attention is required to be given to that relationship. Then only you can sustain that relationship. So we need to spend quality time with our children in order to nurture their relationship with them. Otherwise, we have seen in many movies and all, children, they grow up, they say, you were busy with your own job and you are earning money, you never gave us any time, so why should we love you? All these dialogues and all come. So the point is that spending quality time is a very important requirement for nurturing any relationship. That includes nurturing a relationship with the Lord, which is the fundamental relationship. How do you spend quality time with the Lord? By doing all these religious rituals, these practices and all that. And that is why, these vratams, upavasas and all are prescribed in our culture. Upavasa means what? Upavasa means staying near or being near the Lord. This is the meaning of upavasa. But what happens today? People say, I am on Ekadashi Upavasa. The only thing they will do is they may skip 1 meal or 2 meals or 3 meals, whatever it is. They may skip the meals. But whole day they will sit and see some TV program, or they will actually, Ekadashi, good day for go to movies. They will go and sit in a movie hall. There is no God in that upavasa. That's not the purpose of upavasa at all. Upavasa has now become translated as fasting. Fasting is only an incidental outcome of the upavasa day. Because when you are spending quality time with the God, when you are always in the God, with praying to the God, in the thought of your God, no other thought of food, eating and all should come into your mind. That is the way you have to keep on practicing. Then only you will reach. But what is happening? You call it upavasa and all, people think, oh, very good, that's a Ekadashi upavasa. But actually what he is doing is he doesn't even go to the altar and light a lamp on Ekadashi. So this is the problem we have landed ourselves in, whereas this was not meant in the Vedic culture. So they prescribed so many rituals, so many practices and all that, which will actually enable you to grow spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and go nearer and nearer to God, and nurture your permanent relationship with Ishvara. And the ultimate of this permanent relationship is what? Videha Mukti. You merge with Ishvara, you merge with the totality. Whenever I say Ishvara, just keep in mind, it is not an entity, it is the totality, is Ishvara. Samashti. We are individuals, Jivatma. Ishvara is Paramatma, means a totality. Entire universe is Ishvara. That is how you have to understand. Okay. And when we do these karmas, and the Vratam example or Upavasa example is a very good example, we must understand first what is the purpose of doing this. Otherwise, it will become a very mechanical, kind of a ritual. We will just do it without understanding what is to be done, how it is to be done, and all that. Somebody said, no, you got this problem, do Ekadashi Vratam. So this person understood Ekadashi Vratam means fasting. That's all. What that person advised to us, that Vratam means fast and then do all prayers throughout the day. But the prayer part he has not understood at all. So he does fasting, which you don't need to do only on Ekadashi day. Any day you can choose, because it is good for health. Fasting is a good thing for health, for maintaining your health. That you can do it on any day, not necessarily on Ekadashi day. Okay. So it becomes important for us to understand the purpose why we are doing it, what is the meaning of what we are doing and all that. Otherwise, it will turn out to be a very empty ritual. Okay. And what will happen when you go on doing this empty ritual, when you yourself are not convinced why you are doing this, after some time it will drop off. You will stop doing that. You will lose interest in all these practices. And that is what we are seeing all around us. Because nobody has got any understanding of why we are doing this, what is the meaning of all these things and all that. Vishnu Sahasranamam we keep on chanting mechanically, but we don't know the meanings of what we are chanting. Every Nama brings into your mind one of the glories of that Lord. And you do that 1,000 times. And you do it every day. Just imagine how much spiritually you are going to grow. How much near you are going to Lord. How much understanding you are going to gain of what Bhagavan is. Because as Pujya Swamiji says, Bhagavan is not an entity to be known. Bhagavan is an entity to be understood. We have to understand what is Bhagavan, what is God. Otherwise, every other religion says there is God. Everybody believes there is God. Nobody understands what is that God. And some religions say he is a he sitting somewhere and then directing all your actions, or rather keeping an eye on your actions. Whatever good you do, whatever bad you do, he has got a big ledger. Nowadays, a computer. And when you go to the gates, pearly gates and all, you will see your account and either allow you into the heaven or send you to the hell. All these kind of, they make us feel so guilty about our life. Our culture is not that. Our culture is, it is guiding everybody to go nearer to God. And the more near you go to God, the more good things that you will do in your life. More Shubha Karyams you will do in your life. So the first step is learning the theory. A knowledge of what we are practicing should precede the practice. And this is the scientific approach also. We have done it right from school days. Isn't it? Theory, practice. Physics, chemistry and all. First we will learn the theory, go to the lab and do the practice. This is a scientific approach. Because even this applies to all, music, sports, everywhere. People who are aspiring to become big cricketers, national level players and all that, they will go to a coach. And the coach will first make them understand the techniques, the theory behind how you should play. You should hold your bat in such a way. You should bowl, hold the ball this way. He will explain the theory part of it. And then he will put it into practice, make them practice again and again and again. So theory has to precede the practice. Unfortunately, none of us know anything about the theory of what we do. Mechanically, we are doing this. That's why this one generation may be doing it mechanically. They are not able to pass on that, to the next generation because they can't explain why it is to be done. And the next generation will stop that. We have seen that happening. All around us, all practices completely stop rather, right? So therefore, even the religion involves two things when we call religion. One is a thorough study of the principles and the theory of all the scriptures, understanding what the purpose of those scriptures are, understanding what the scriptures mean, because they are all in Sanskrit language. And we have not learned Sanskrit. We don't know, we can't read. So you have to get somebody to translate or to explain what the scriptures mean. And a simple translation will not help. Because the scriptures contain a lot of messages relating to values, relating to lifestyle. Somebody needs to explain all those things to us. Then only we will value the value of the scriptures. Unless we have a value for the value, we will never value the value. As Pujya Swamiji says, the value of the values is very, very important. First, there is a value, but you must know the value of that value. So, somebody needs to explain all those things to us. On the theory side, once we understand the theory, practice is easier. Will be more involved. We will do everything with an understanding as to why we are. Sandhya Vandanam, many people they don't know A, B, C, D meaning of the mantras. Gayatri mantra, nobody knows the meaning, what we are praying for. When you know the meaning and then you pray for it, it will make sense to you. It will be like an auto suggestion for you. But if you don't know the meaning, what are you suggesting to yourself? Nothing but some words coming, some sound coming out of your mouth. Okay. And also merely learning also is useless unless you put it into practice, isn't it? Both should go together. Now, somebody may know all the yogasana postures, but if he doesn't practice yogasana, what is the purpose of knowing what yogasana is? You may know all scriptures and all, but if you don't put it into practice, it will be useless. Rather, it will not give any benefit to us. So, in the Vedic culture, they prescribed two things. One is thorough learning of all the scriptures or whatever important scriptures, and the principles behind all these religious practices. Learn that thoroughly from with those which are enshrined in our religious scriptures. Okay. So scriptural study was made compulsory for everybody, whether he was a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya or a Shudra. Everybody had to go to a Gurukula, study the scriptures. That was the schooling that they had to go through. And depending upon their vocation or their guna, and also their karma, their family vocation and all, they will be taught additional skills for pursuing that particular vocation, or whatever it is. What if it's a kshatriya, he will be taught about warfare and things like that and all. Brahmana will be put more deep into learning the scriptures, Vedas, practices and all that. A Vaishya will be given knowledge about economics, about finance and all that. So like that, the Gurukulam was a completely 12 years, 15 years, 16 years. Some people will spend 20 years in the Gurukulam, and their entire youth life will be spent in the Gurukulam. This was the training which was given to make them understand all these principles behind these religious practices. Everybody will understand what these religious practices are. Why? What is the meaning of that? And when after completing the study, one would get married, and then he will know how he should lead a grihastha life. He has already, learned all that in his Gurukulam. And he will also realize that in and through all our relationship, the fundamental relationship with Lord, I should never forget. And so, Grihastha life, Vanaprastha life, Sannyasa life, all become a ashrama life. Ashrama means a life devoted to Ishvara, life devoted to God. As Swami Paramarthananda says, if you don't follow an ashrama life, like Grihastha ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama, Sannyasa ashrama, then your life will be a shrama. It will be full of toils and tension, anxiety, fight, all those quarrel, everything. Okay. But when we moved from one yuga to another yuga, it was increasingly found that the man's intellect, human intellect, was shrinking. The ability to study all these scriptures and all that was coming, and especially at the end of Dwapara Yuga, which is the previous yuga to our Kali Yuga, it was found that the intellect to learn and retain all this knowledge was going away with the advent of Kali Yuga. And that is why Veda Vyasa actually did whatever he did in terms of codification of the Vedas into 4 Vedas or into 3 Vedas, then 4th Veda joined. And then everybody was to follow, at least study what is relevant for your Veda. Or even in your Veda, you study what is relevant for your branch of the Veda. So all that things came about. So we have seen in the last class how vast our scriptural literature is. So vast. It is impossible for anybody to say, I have read the entire thing in one lifetime. It's not possible at all. Okay. Well, people even today are busy right from morning till evening. So many other priorities have taken over any study of the scriptures, right? And there is a very beautiful Subhashitam which expresses this particular problem. He says, Ananta Shastram Bahuveditavyam Alpascha Kalo Bahavascha Vignaha Yatsara Bhutam Tat Upasitavyam Hamso Yata Kshira Mimambu Mishraha. What it says is, Ananta Shastram, the scriptures are endless, many, go on and on and on. Bahuveditavyam, there is a plenty to study. Alpascha Kala, the time is very, very limited for us. And Bhahavascha Vignahan, there are so many obstacles even in that limited time for us to pursue any study. Therefore, Yatsara Bhutam Tat Upasitavyam. Therefore, if you do not have time to study all the scriptures, at least study the essence of all the scriptural literature, just like a swan. legendary swan separates the milk from a mixture of milk and water. So the mixture of milk and water, the essence is milk. So the swan is able to absorb that. It's a legend. We don't know really it happens or not. We have not seen it. So like that, at least study the scripture, the essence of the scriptures. And Adi Shankara actually echoes the same message in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita also, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita. He says that people have become so much extroverted, and he said this in the when he was there in the 7th century. That time itself, this problem was there, extrovertedness of the people. Materialistic desires have increased. And therefore, Bhagavan Krishna, what he has done, he has taken the essence of all the Shastras and given it in the form of Bhagavad Gita. And this one book is sufficient, given our constraints, to comprehensively understand our entire scriptural literature and the scheme of our entire scriptural literature. To understand what is our religious culture, what is the Vedic culture, to understand what it is meant by God-centered living, and to understand the principles behind every religious practices of ours. So Bhagavad Gita contains the essence of all these things, and that is why, as I said in the beginning, Bhagavad Gita study, if you don't study any other scriptures also, Bhagavad Gita study becomes a very, very important study in one's life. And therefore, every Indian, every Hindu must compulsorily study the Bhagavad Gita. At least study this Bhagavad Gita verse by verse, and understand their meanings and also their implications. Whether one is a spiritual seeker or not, to understand our country, to our religion, our culture, understand India, which is our motherland, understand our Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion, whether we are materialistic or spiritual, Bhagavad Gita study is compulsory for all. Of course, if you are a spiritual path, if you are a spiritual seeker, you can add Upanishads, Brahma Sutra and all this to Bhagavad Gita study. But at the minimum, Bhagavad Gita study is very much necessary. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? All these religious practices will become very, very mechanical, and they will all look very empty, and over a period of time it will drop one by one. It is already happening. Pancha Yajnas are dropped. Nobody does Pancha Yajnas. Aupasanam is dropped. Agnihotra is dropped. Sandhya Vandanam is increasingly getting dropped. People are busy. I've got to go to office in the morning. I can't do Sandhya Vandanam. In the office, I can't do Sandhya Vandanam. I come very late. I can't do Sandhya Vandanam. It's being dropped. Okay, all these things fine. Then if you're serious about doing Sandhya Vandanam, are you doing it at least once in a week on Sundays when you don't go to office? Answer is no. Sunday is the only time I get to sleep late. So I get up late at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I don't do Sandhya Vandanam. So they come up with all sorts of excuses for not doing all these things. And what will happen over a period of time, all these things will fall away. Our religious culture, God-centered culture will vanish. Already most of it has vanished rather. If you look at it, still some people are struggling to maintain it. Added to that, when seeing all these things, politicians also take full advantage of the situation. The kind of appreciation of God in other religions, we don't find it today in our religion at all. Somebody hurts us, we start crying. But what are we doing about it? Are we following our religion? That itself is not there. The minority which is following all the scriptural, injunctions, or what you can say, whatever scriptures say. And that minority can easily be manipulated or troubled, so that they also stop doing it. And many people have moved away from India itself. So there, in the foreign country, how much they are following. Of course, one thing I should say, I have found personally that they are more religious than we people here in India, but that's a different topic. Let's not get into that. So eventually we will be overpowered by a materialistic culture. That's what will happen. And in a materialistic culture, we will have everything, maybe a palatial building, all the modern gadgets and all we will have, but inside there will be emptiness. The heart will be empty because materialism is what? Maya. And Maya is mithya, it's useless. It is not going to give you any freedom, any liberation, any happiness. You will be jumping from one happiness to another unhappiness, thinking that you are jumping from one happiness to another happiness. This is the Maya. It will, all unhappiness, it will actually, Maya will, cover it like happiness, and it will lead you from one to another. Underlying will be one happiness to another happiness, one grief to another grief will be your life. And that is what we are all suffering, and that's what we call samsara also. Okay. Spiritual culture alone will give us the fullness of our life, the permanent happiness, purnatvam, contentment in our life can be got only by a spiritual culture, not a materialistic culture. Therefore, even though we have so many constraints, the least that we can do is study Bhagavad Gita systematically and thoroughly, and attempt to transform our life based on those teachings. Bhagavad Gita, everybody says, is the manual of life. You must all have heard, right? A manual, whenever we get a manual along with, let's say, a fridge or a washing machine, air conditioner, we are supposed to read the manual first and then continue, do the installation of that gadget. But what we have done, we have the manual with us, but we have never bothered to open that manual and see. We thought that we know how to lead our life, and we have made a mess of our life. But now at least open the manual and see whether there are things which you can correct. Rest of the life, at least you can channelize into proper living, happy living, healthy living. So Bhagavad Gita is that essence, that it's a sort of a, because these days there are one is a manual which they come, especially large, big, voluminous manual. Along with that, there will be a short version of the manual, which will give you all the important things. It won't go into technical details and all. The bigger one will continue all technical details. But there will be a short manual. The Bhagavad Gita is that short manual. If we study that, we will know how to lead our life, at least from now onwards. If we have not, many things we may find that we have been doing it unknowingly right also when we study Bhagavad Gita. That will also give us a lot of satisfaction. That without knowing, I have done the right thing. Okay. So our focus then will shift from materialistic well-being to spiritual well-being if we study Bhagavad Gita. Okay. And in several chapters, Bhagavan Krishna highlights the values that one needs to follow, the attitude that one needs to develop, the sadhanas that one needs to practice, and the ultimate knowledge that one needs to gain, all leading to the final goal of moksha, as I said earlier. Therefore, information and transformation are both very, very important. So it's a case of learning the theory and putting it into practice is what the study of Bhagavad Gita is all about. And therefore, in the Gita Mahatmya, there is a text called Gita Mahatmya. It is repeatedly said that you have to study regularly the Gita. It will give you everything in your life. Even when you study Gita, it will give you all material things also that you desire for in your life. And it will enrich you spiritually also. And they go, so much concession is given. If you are not able to study Bhagavad Gita with the meanings and all that, at least do the Parayanam of the Gita, the 18 chapters. If you can't do 18 chapters, at least do 9 chapters, then 9 chapters. If you don't have time even for doing that, at least do 1 chapter reading. Like that, over a period of time, can complete all the 18 chapters. Even 1 chapter you cannot do, at least 1 sloka you read every day. If you can't do any of these things, at least chant Gita, 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 word Gita you keep chanting. That itself is auspicious. So this whole thing is designed to continue to maintain our fundamental relationship with Lord. And in Bhagavad Gita, we will come across Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Lord spake thus, Lord spake thus. This is what we'll come across. Whenever we see Bhagavan Uvacha, it is Lord Krishna who is speaking, Krishna speaking. We will learn to see Krishna, Krishna, Krishna only will be there in our mind. So the whole purpose is to maintain, give quality time by studying Bhagavad Gita. What we are doing is we are spending quality time with Bhagavan. And by that we will nurture our relationship. We will make it an enduring relationship, birth after birth after birth. And the Mahatmyam, Gita Mahatmyam further says that when we chant Bhagavad Gita, when we do the Parayanam of Bhagavad Gita, all the devatas come because they are also equally interested in listening. Oh, one more person started chanting Bhagavad Gita, let us listen to it. All the devatas will come into our place and then they will bestow their blessings and all things that we desire. Right? So, the Bhagavad Gita learning, chanting is good for us and also good for our entire family. So this is the glory of Bhagavad Gita, the Mahima of Bhagavad Gita. If we can't do anything else, we have not done any other study of any scriptures, at least let us study Bhagavad Gita thoroughly with full meanings and understanding the implications of all the advice that Krishna gives to Arjuna. Arjuna is only a nimitta. Bhagavad Gita is meant for humankind. It is relevant. It was relevant in the past. It is relevant today. It will be relevant in future also. If a human being has to progress. Our progress is not in materialistic culture. Our progress is there only in spiritual culture. Whenever any geography has gone away from spiritual culture to materialistic culture, that culture has actually vanished. You can see, look at history. And as people say, so many invasions have taken place and so many foreigners have come and tried to convert this entire Indian culture. Still today we are 85% Hindus in our country. They cannot, a spiritual culture cannot be destroyed. A materialistic culture can be destroyed. So if we want to have eternity of this culture, Sanathanam of this dharma, at least we must learn Bhagavad Gita. So this is the glory of Gita which I wanted to share with you. I will say the prayers and if there are any questions, then I will try to answer them. Om Purnamadav Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Great introduction, Raghuji.
Thank you, Mama.
Very profound introduction.
Thank you so much, Mama.
Namaste, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji. Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.
Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guru.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Raghuji.
ధన్యవాదాలు గురుజీ.
Hari Om.
Guruji.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Hari Om.
much.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we will all see you next Sunday. Okay.